Hello, Sean Stone. Welcome to the Elevate Your Soul podcast.
Awesome. I love the title, Elevate Your Soul. All about that.
Thank you so much. First question I have for you is, what elevates your soul?
Wow, it's a beautiful question, actually. I have to say that I've been on this elevation process. Especially, I think it's been accelerated the last couple of years of my life. I've been in a beautiful relationship that lightens my soul and makes me feel more aligned and in tune with my being. My partner Kaya teaches breath work, so she's taught me a bit about those ventures, and that is a very powerful tool. Breath work, whether it's her form, which is more holotropic / you could call it circular breath. It's very profound and deep, but there's many forms of it. Even Kundalini yoga and Tai Chi are just different expressions of the breath work. So connecting to breath is really a way to just elevate and loosen. It's all about lightening. I think that's the key. Is people say enlightenment. Well, what's the key phrase there is light. So how do you lighten yourself? How do you lighten your load from the physical realm? So those are certainly aspects. Yeah, exactly. Relationship, love, breath, and expression. I feel that I elevate my soul when I dive into something like that, whether it's a writing project or a film or even an expression on an Instagram or YouTube video where I'm just speaking my truth. I feel like it's about there's like a shedding process that I think every artist goes through, in a sense of not just artists, but like we're all artists. Actually, every human being really is an artist. It's just a question of tapping into that, which is in us, and letting it out, right? So when we shed, when we express, when we release, we are, I think, elevating out of this physical heaviness.
For sure. Can you answer this question? Are we really free? And if not, why?
Not in this realm. We are not free in the physical world because we all live with fear.
Okay.
One of the most recent work that I put out was a cosmic fairy tale called Desiderata. Desiderata by Ali. It's an audible book, and basically it's a journey through the realms from like the highest soul expression of love and pure connectedness down into this physical plane that we live in and are burdened and encumbered by. And so this journey of seeking out our desires and being obstructed in the process, to ultimately realize that there is no separation, that there is only oneness, but this realm is so illusory that it presents constant frustrations and obstacles and these blockages to our freedom. So, many people would argue that only the spiritual path is the path of liberation and freedom. And as we see even in our own lives, nowadays, certainly for being a Black person, for example, in America, certainly in many countries around the world, there's other racial discriminations that we see, or racial or religious discriminations. But right now in America, right, there's protesting going on because it's like enough is enough, right? So Black people are basically saying, we've been discriminated against, we've had it harder than the rest, and again, that's not to say that Mexican Americans and Asian Americans and especially Native Americans haven't also been discriminated. But it's like we've seen obviously that expression of their lack of freedom. And whether it comes in so many different forms in our life, it's that we have this illusion of what it means to be free. And yet I think all of us at some point or another come to that place of recognizing, wow, I'm not really as free as I would like to be or as I thought. And
can we become free in this lifetime that we have on Earth?
Exactly. So that's the question, is how do we actually free ourselves in this lifetime on Earth? I believe that the spiritual journey actually is ultimately about this physical plane. So many people would say like the spiritual journey is about the next life or the world hereafter. And I say, no, it's all one. So as we free ourselves from being burdened by this realm, as we like lighten our load and we become more in tune with our soul and our soul's expression and the passions and things that really motivate us, I believe that we do shift the physical reality around us. We do bring in people that are more on our frequency, on our wavelength, and we do manifest more of the life that we want to live. So if we seek that spiritual path, I think that that does offer us more freedom. But
Yeah.
even as at the same time, we have to do this work because the world is becoming in many ways more totalitarian, not in the overt sense that people think. They don't, this is not like, Darth Vader here with the stormtroopers,
Yeah.
boot on your neck, although obviously we've seen that is real, but this is more the technocratic dictatorship. This is like censorship through Google and YouTube and Facebook and
Yeah.
thought police telling you this is a dangerous idea. I mean, what kind of Orwellian nightmare are we in where you can't even think for yourself? We have
Yes,
thought
that was
police
my
out.
next question is pinpointing on America in particular rather than overall in the world or the Western world. I was going to ask, in America is known as the land of the free, right? So in what ways in America are you constricted from your own freedom?
The American dream, I said before, is something that they sell you, but you can't own it.
Hmm.
Right. So they sell you on the American dream. That's, I think all of us have gone through that sort of expression of desiring the American dream in some level. And
Yeah.
what I see more and more of actually is the manipulation of the mind and the desires of the culture. So you
Right.
get this cultural control where they sell you on this idea of, look, you're supposed to look like this. You're supposed to dress like that. You're supposed to listen to this music. You're supposed to think these thoughts. This is like the most dangerous form of control because it's mind control. And so whereas people actually, Aldous Huxley, I think, put it the best. He's like, when people love their slavery, they love their servitude, it's like that's the most effective form of of controlling the population. So
Yeah.
it's like people are living in these false modalities, right? They're like toxifying their bodies, they're toxifying their, the food systems. We're toxifying like obviously our thoughts and the
Yeah.
visions, the images that are coming to our minds through the frequency of propaganda that's being fed to us on
Mhm.
social media or television or you name it, right? So it's that level of slavery that's the most dangerous kind, where they tell you, oh, you're so free, look, you just have to
Exactly.
just take this product and you'll
Yeah.
do this and you'll make money. But it's like,
Yeah.
even that is the illusion, because what is it to make money? If we've seen what these people are doing, they've made billions of dollars, they've trashed the earth, they literally are selling people poison, and they're
Yes.
calling it pharmaceuticals. They're selling people
Yes.
toxic thoughts, they're selling people toxic agendas, and they're saying this is what it is to be successful and have a yacht and have young
Mhm.
girls around you as a rich old ugly guy. I mean, that's not a healthy society that
Yeah.
we're talking about. And
Yeah.
so to me, that's the danger, that we're basically propagating a notion of freedom that
Mhm.
in many ways, if you were to look at it from like the eyes of light and purity, would be satanic, because it's an inversion of
Yeah.
what life is all about, right? We're not
And
like
controlling
encouraging
controlling
each
the
other.
mind and taking away the freedom by controlling the mind, that's the best way how to do it, because if you're physically controlling someone, you know that you're being controlled. But
Hmm.
if you do it through the mind, through like slow manipulation through society and the media, you don't actually realize you're being controlled, and then you think the thoughts you have or the desires you want are your own and they're coming from you, when really they're coming from someone else or somewhere else.
Precisely. I mean, and now it's coming down to the place where the mind control is so effective because there's some fear of a virus, this invisible magical virus that's going to get you. And then when it gets you, you're going to, fall ill and you might die. I mean, it's just so
Yeah.
exaggerated. Put on a mask, like
Mm,
really like put a gag on your face and walk around with a mask and deprive yourself of oxygen, which is actually what your immune system, your body needs most, so
yeah.
that you can be safe and protected from a virus. It's like such a hoax, but people, again, the thought control, the fear of virus, that's the true virus. They call it
Yeah.
Wetiko
Exactly.
in some of the cultures, was fear, Wetiko.
Yeah. And our whole society is just um I guess the pharmaceutical industry or the health industry has also just made us be scared of bacteria in general, like use hand sanitizer kills, or this soap kills 99.9% of germs. And it's like germs and bacteria is what helps us grow stronger and what boosts our immune system. So that's completely been distorted as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, precisely. I mean, we
Yeah.
are made of bacteria. We have
Exactly.
millions of viruses in us.
In our
That's part of
body.
our
Yeah.
DNA structure. So the whole mythology, again, the problem is that people have been sold on the idea that if you're rich, then you must be doing something right. As
Mhm.
opposed to maybe, if you're
Yeah.
rich and like super rich, like we're talking about like the elite level of wealth,
Yeah.
you're probably hurting a lot of people. You're probably exploiting a lot of people. You're probably, you know, you're probably making your profit through a lot of crime. But
Mm-hmm.
because you're at that level of wealth, you actually can buy politicians. And
Mm-hmm.
once you can buy politicians, you can write laws.
You
So
can
now
control the
you're
media.
not the low level criminal that goes and loots. I mean, the people that are looters in America looting the Nordstroms and stuff. I'm like, good, go get what you need. I don't have any love. Every one of these corporations, if they get looted, you will not see a tear from me. But so, you know, like that's like petty crime, you know, going to rob a store or something, that's petty crime. When you're
Yeah.
talking about the power and influence of the elite, that's
Yeah.
massive crime. You know, when the Bill
Yeah.
Gateses of the world who are out there, you know, oh, we like Bill Gates, he's such a likable nerd. I mean, this guy literally was like, you know, was getting sued by the government for monopolies, you know, for trust, you know, basically he was forming monopolies and obviously doing very, you know, I would say malevolent things in terms of how he would bully and other businesses, right, to try to have that kind of monopoly. This
Yeah.
is like the Rockefellers of the 19th centuries. And then the
Mhm.
Rockefellers of the 19th, 20th centuries, they changed their image by becoming a philanthropist, just like
Yeah,
Gates. Like, what does a philanthropist
exactly.
do?
Yeah.
A
To the
philanthropist basically
public.
says, oh, I have all this money. Let me now pretend to be a good person by funding certain things. Well, what are they
Giving it
funding?
away.
Yeah, but what are they funding then? Then they're funding things like let's fund fertilizers, you know, which essentially is just it's poison, right? So poisons to poison the crop, but essentially if you're poisoning the crop and then you eat that, isn't it poisoning your body because you're a living thing too?
Yeah.
So let's you know let's promote things like fertilizers, like pharmaceuticals,
Mm,
like the entire drug slash medical cartel that controls the world. And we're living in sicker
vaccines.
societies. And you're telling me that doctors and scientists are so brilliant, they figured out so much, and yet people are like obese, they have chronic illnesses,
Yeah,
they're sicker than, you know, they're sick that if not sicker than ever.
they
And you're
are.
gonna tell me like they've made, you know, these scientists and doctors are so great, they're great at making you feel better with like painkillers and medicines that just
Numbing
make it feel
devices.
like you're,
Yeah.
you know, make it go away for the moment, but they don't heal you. That's not their intention, is not to heal you, it's
Yeah.
just to make you feel better.
It's just
So
a
we
cover
have
up. Yeah, they're not
yeah,
getting
so
to
we
the
have
root
a big
core.
problem here. We have a big
Mm.
problem where it's like the criminals are the ones in power and putting the people in power we call
Mhm.
politicians. They're paid for by those criminals. And then, you know, we're basically made to think everything is reversed. So it's like the criminals are the ones selling us the laws and the agendas, and they're advertising on television, telling us what to eat, what to buy, what to wear. And then, you know, we're looking at around the world and not actually realizing, wait a minute, this is all inverted. So
Yeah.
the bad guys are actually, you know, pretending to be the good guys. And, you know, we're probably the rebels and outlaws, and we're the bad guys in the
Yeah,
perspective of
exactly.
media.
Yeah, the ones who rebel against society, right? They're the bad ones. It's so funny
Mhm.
actually, because I used to I loved Bill Gates. I didn't know too much about him, but I saw him. He was like this sweet old man. I was just like, oh my gosh. Like I used to love him, and then I found out more about him, and I was really sad. I was like, oh. Another question on the freedom one, I wanted to ask you. I saw on your Instagram you were talking about quarantine being quarantyranny. Can
Yes.
you touch on that briefly?
Well, there's a difference. Like, okay, spiritually speaking, a quarantine is a healthy thing. Like when the virus pandemic first started, I
Yeah.
said, look, energetically,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful pause for the world because ecologically, the earth needed a breath, right? It needed a break. As people, we've been in a hamster wheel of production, and like, you know, everyone, we just go to work, we go to the office, we have to make money to pay the bills, to pay the rent, to take care of the, you know, to take care of the kids or whatever, like the family. I mean, it's a cycle, a pattern that's very exhausting for the soul. Sometimes the system has to be broken to actually give the soul an opportunity to step back and say, well, wait a minute, maybe my values were wrong, maybe the system is wrong, maybe it's time to shift my intention and do something new with myself, my energy, with my life and my life force, and not just give it to that system that's like Moloch, right? Like you used to
Yeah.
sacrifice kids in the old days to Moloch because that was just this tyrant psychologically that
Mhm.
we were feeding our life force to and sacrificing to. And now it's become money slash, you know, corporatism slash just an overall tyranny of, again, the elite that have 147 countries companies I'm sorry, 147 companies pretty much have like the majority of the world's wealth in their hands, and they
Yeah.
control the world. So it's like, what are we feeding? So if we can stop, that's a wonderful pause. But then quarantine became quarantyranny once it was like, oh no, we can open up the Walmarts and the Targets and the superstores and the big corporations that are already living on corporate welfare. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
government welfare, right? They call it's like socialism for the corporations. So we can open up those shops. But if you're a small business owner, and I mean, I'm not even sure how many have been threatened, but I just saw like a few weeks ago, one lady who's in Oregon, who's like getting arrested and her kids are being taken away from her because she's trying to
Yeah.
open her business. And she's like, I just have to, I have to make some money to provide. So that's quarantyranny. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Seeing these news feeds that say like, you should not open your business, but you can go out, you can go out to protest, but you can't open your business for health
Yeah.
purposes. Like what
Or
kind of insanity is
these
that?
Walmarts and supermarkets, right? It's like we need to social distance, but hundreds of people will all go, or thousands and millions of people all go to the same store to go shopping. Yet a little store where like one or two people enter in at a time and then leave, that can't happen. But that
Right.
almost seems safer because there's less people in a confined space. So when it comes to social distancing and all that about actually protecting us from the virus, it doesn't make any sense that smaller stores can't be open, even smaller
Exactly.
grocers get our
Exactly.
food from.
Because it's all a psyop. It's not real. I mean, not to say that there's not a virus, but the actual deadliness of it. I mean, the CDC had to acknowledge it once, recently, that
Mhm.
look, the World Health Organization was completely exaggerated. The death toll is like far less than 1%, and that's including all the people they killed, they murdered on ventilators, they killed in the old, the nursing homes. I mean, just again, this is the tyranny of fear that people get into because they don't know what they're dealing with. So it's like this fear of viruses as opposed to the idea of, wait a minute, I have an immune system. Why is it that our medical industry is not designed to actually boost your immune system? How often do doctors tell you like, hey, boost your immune system? We're going to do, intravenous vitamin C. Actually, they get arrested for that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, why can't we boost the immune system? What is the fixation on making a drug that
Mm,
basically you can patent, obviously, right? A corporation can patent and
yep.
then give to you. And by the way, in the year 2000, I remember a medical journal article that talks about 200,000 Americans a year die from malfeasance within the hospital system,
Yeah.
within because of bad, basically toxic reactions to pharmaceuticals, medical malpractice. That's 200,000 a year. That's twice the Americans that are dead from Corona or COVID. So even if you believe the CDC numbers, so it's like it's such a joke. These people are literally like Dr. Death running around telling you, be afraid of that little invisible bug, the supernatural devil that you can't see and can jump into you. Be afraid of that. No, be afraid of the people telling you to be afraid. Always fear those people.
Exactly. And how many times in the media have we seen information on how we can boost our immune system, right? And fight the virus or be stronger for if we catch anything, even the common cold. Like not once have I seen on the mainstream media like, oh, now that there's this virus around, let's talk about the immune system and how to boost it. Silence. No talk about that whatsoever.
Because you can't patent vitamins. So it's all about the drug patents, right?
Yeah.
That's what the pharmaceutical companies are all about. They're about creating patents. The same
Vitamin
with
C is pretty cheap. It's pretty
vitamins,
expensive.
exactly. And you can access through various supplements. And the point is that like the homeopathic approach was subverted by the Rockefeller establishment of
Mm,
pharmaceutical companies,
mm,
because once again you can patent a drug, it's the same as like patenting seeds, right? So it's like if you have a natural seed, you can't patent it. Once you start to tamper with it, create a genetically modified seed, now you can patent that. And that's what these people are all about, Bill Gates of the world and stuff. They're not about helping you, they're about control.
right, right. I want to talk about these elite people that you mentioned earlier. How is it that millions of people around the world and in America are getting unemployed, yet some billionaires are earning even more money right now?
Well, because Amazon never shut down, right? So
Mhm.
Amazon obviously, is just one of those things where it's like at one level, hey, I appreciate the fact that they're like delivering, goods, but the Bezos is making off with billions of dollars. I'm like, well, why can't these people pay their fair share when it comes to taxation? Well, they figured out the loopholes. They figured out the trusts and the foundations and the offshore tax havens and all kinds of other. I don't even know. I don't even have accountants that can that work at that price. But essentially, the point is that the Gates and the Bezos and others, like they don't pay taxation hardly.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
the billions of dollars that they're making. So Bezos is definitely one. I mean, you look at the list of people, and there may have been some level of insider knowledge. Certainly, there were even American senators that were questioned by the
Yeah.
feds for
Yeah.
potentially, having insider information because they were like
Right.
shorting the market just before the crash.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's one aspect of where the billionaires could have made some money on the insider knowledge. But more importantly, just again, we talked about how some of these corporations have just never had to shut down
Yeah.
in this climate where the rest of small businesses, little, uh, local, say local shops, they've suffered the most. But we're
Yeah.
going to see what happens at the end of this thing. I mean, I don't know where pandemic ends because someone told you there's a pandemic, so you're pretending. I'm like, what are we playing, a game? Like, can we stop playing this stupid game already? Like, there's
Yeah.
no pandemic. Let's be real.
Plandemic.
Yeah, it's a pandemic. I'm saying there's no pandemic. It's like, so what? When Dr. Fauci or someone at the WHO tells you the pandemic is over, like,
Mm.
the virus isn't going to go away. So just like, you deal with it. You you live your life just like we've lived our life with all kinds of viruses throughout our existence. And
Exactly.
at the end
And
of the
they're
day,
in
like I
our
said,
bodies right now anyway, right? Trillions of them.
well, exactly. We've got them in our body. I'm saying, like, some people die. It's every year. It's like, maybe between, maybe 500,000 people die from the flu globally every year, maybe more. I mean, there are more people dying from starvation, more kids dying from starvation. So
Yeah.
why are we not focusing on the things that actually matter, which is making a better life, making a healthier life, making a less toxic world, right? Making a life that we're more connected to each other as human beings? Why are we not focused on that? Why are we focused so much on this little invisible magical virus that's going to come and take your
'Cause there's no
grandmother? I mean,
money to be made, right? If we're all united and all one, there's no money to be made. There'll be more
precisely,
equality.
precisely. So the game of separation continues, and I just don't go along with it. I just keep
Yeah.
saying the same truth, which is we're all blue. That's the new like, kind of like your hair color, but we're all blue because at the end of the day, we're all made of water,
Mm.
right? We need water to survive, and we better take care of our water and our oceans first and foremost, or we're not
Yeah.
going to be here much longer.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I'm a mermaid, so I care deeply for the ocean. Can I ask
Well,
you,
that's
my
what it
last
is.
question is, how does mainstream media and the news affect our minds and our spirit?
Only if you give it to them.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
everything that you look at is affecting you, right? At the
Uh-huh.
unconscious level. It's
Uh-huh.
energetically looking back at you, as they say. So, what do you choose to give your attention to? What do you choose to give your focus? I believe that we're called to things based on where our soul is. And so, at the moment where you say, like, I don't need this, I don't watch the news. I simply check in occasionally when someone will send me an article
Mhm.
or, this and that, and I'll read or I'll inquire.
Mhm.
But I follow my soul's journey, and my soul's journey is not to be dictated to by a machine that
Yeah.
tells you the message of the day is focus on this fear, this phobia, this
Crime.
this paranoia, right? Like that, all that is just not my modality of existence.
Exactly. Exactly. Beautiful. All right.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
it's a
Thank you for your
pleasure.
time.
Yeah, thank you,
How
thank
can
you. It's a pleasure.
people find you on Instagram
They can find me
or on the internet?
all over the internet. They can find me everywhere. So yeah, I'm on Instagram at the real Sean Stone, um, Facebook, Twitter, watching Sean, and Patreon. I have some videos that I put morning meditation content
Mhm.
that people can check out and get more personal insights from me. And then I'm also offering divination consultation sessions now. Um, People that want to basically just get like a little insight from where, like, from a soul perspective, what
Yes.
they're going through, and maybe I can offer some intuition and some advice on how to navigate these
Yeah,
crazy times.
exactly. I love that. That's so beautiful. Great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, RL.